We are told that a ceasefire came into force on the 10th of October. We are told that the guns had largely fallen silent and that Gaza would breathe again. Yet what has unfolded since then is a slower, more intimate violence, not the spectacle of a full offensive, but a steady drumbeat, nevertheless, of killing. Take al-Mawasi, a patch of coastline west of Khan Yunis that Israel itself designated as a safe zone. There, in tents pitched on sand, a family was wiped out. A father and his two children, aged 8 and 10, burned alive. 3 others were killed, more than a dozen wounded. The Israeli army says it targeted a Hamas figure emerging from tunnels after an attack that injured 5 Israeli soldiers. But if your precision strike kills children in a declared refuge, either your intelligence failed or you are content to accept civilian deaths as the cost of action. Neither conclusion is remotely defensible. This was not an aberration. Palestinian authorities say Israel has violated the ceasefire more than 590 times in 55 days. At least 365 Palestinians killed since the truce began, including more than 130 children. Antonio Guterres has warned of strong reasons to believe war crimes have been committed and has stated plainly that something is fundamentally wrong in the conduct of this campaign. Beyond Gaza itself, this violence spills outwards. A 12-year-old boy shot in the head in Kalkiya in the occupied West Bank during a raid. Armed settlers attacking farmers near Hebron, driving families from their land. Masked Israelis dragging Palestinians from vehicles on the roads of the West Bank and setting cars alight. Hundreds arrested without trial. Torture, starvation, and medical neglect in Israeli prisons continue to claim lives. 3 Palestinian detainees from Gaza confirmed dead in Israeli custody this week alone. To the north, airstrikes have hit 4 towns in southern Lebanon. Buildings flattened in Jabaa, Malrona, and Barashit. Lebanese civilians warned to flee under fire, while negotiators sit around a table in the hope of preventing a second war. The message is unmistakable. Diplomacy will proceed, but the pressure will continue to be applied through explosives. And then we come to the story of Yasser al-Shabaab, the most revealing story of all. Al-Shabaab led a militia known as the Popular Forces, drawn from Bedouin clans in Rafah. Israel saw him as useful, a Palestinian force to enforce its authority in areas of Gaza under occupation. His men stood at checkpoints wearing Palestinian flags on their arms, but they worked to Israel's design. Analysts now acknowledge the purpose. They controlled aid convoys, they pressured civilians into camps near Rafah, and that many Gazans feared were staging grounds for expulsion. And they carried out security sweeps where Israeli troops preferred not to tread. He was celebrated as the man who would clear Rafah of terror, but he was widely despised. Palestinians remembered famine, empty shelves, aid stolen from under armed guard. Hamas branded him a traitor. Some of his own tribe blamed him for their suffering. Now he's dead. The circumstances are disputed. Clan feud, militant ambush, a hostage dispute gone wrong, but the political consequences are clear. Israel has relied on proxy militias to impose new order in Gaza while excluding the Palestinian Authority and undermining even the possibility of a legitimate alternative to Hamas. That strategy now lies in ruins. As a Palestinian analyst put it, Abu Shabaab had been discarded into the dustbin of history. His death sends a message to every collaborator Israel has fostered. You will not be protected. Even within Israel, former intelligence officers admit it was always going to end like this. What does this tell us? First, safe zones can be bombed. They are therefore not safe zones. The residents of Al-Mawasi know that cruel reality better than any policy paper could describe. Second, a ceasefire that counts as dead in dozens every week is not a ceasefire. It's a change of tempo. Third, the proxy model has failed. You cannot deny the social infrastructure of a place for 2 years and then expect it to police itself on your behalf. The search for a post-Hamas order has produced gangs, not governance. Fourth, Israel no longer acts unshielded by international frustration. Press freedom groups warn that the ban on journalists entering Gaza prevents the world from seeing what is happening. Eurovision broadcasters withdraw from competition in protest. Human rights organizations document bulldozed bodies and mass graves near the yellow line. UNICEF says every child in Gaza has suffered trauma and loss. The UNRWA warns that life in Gaza has been driven back 20 years. Guterres himself speaks of impunity and civilian catastrophe. Let's be absolutely clear about this. Israel argues that it must continue to strike until the last captive's remains are returned and Hamas is destroyed. There is only one more captive that needs to be returned, his body needs to be returned, or her body. Yet Gaza is destroyed and Hamas remains. The objective is not being met. The principle is being shattered. We need to attend to what the victims tell us, that children are being killed in places they were told to run to for safety, that the so-called ceasefire is indistinguishable from war for those on the receiving end of the fire, that collaborators rise and fall but ordinary families remain trapped beneath or between occupation, factionalism and hunger, and that each passing day corrodes the prospects of real peace. This is the essential truth. You cannot build a political settlement on ruined trust. You cannot pave a road to stability through hunger, humiliation and the incineration of children. A ceasefire must mean exactly that. It must mean food, movement, medicine and shelter. It must mean the end of killing. Until then, this isn't a ceasefire, it's a ceasefire in name only. The war is simply wearing a different mask.